Hey everyone, Shadow Joker here, and welcome to a character analysis video. Woo! After I said I wasn't going to be doing analysis content all that much, and wanted to just stick to countdowns and reviews, I decided to make an analysis video because I thought it'd be fun. So anyway, we're back here, and as you can guess from the title, and what you're looking at right now, this is a Xenoblade video. Game about my favorite video of all time. Great English there. A video about my favorite game of all time. And before we even get into the video, I'm like psychic. Because I told the story before, but back when I was like practicing for the Paper Mario LP, that even though it did eventually get canceled just because like at the time I didn't want to do any of those like research LPs. I'm moving back into them. I'm probably gonna start a new series in that soon, so look forward to it. But basically, then Origami King got announced, and I'm like, what? And then I was playing not just this video, but I got another Xenoblade video in the works right now, so you'll probably see that pretty soon. Hopefully, assuming I don't get lazy. And well, yeah. Alright, sorry about the jump cut, but yeah, start cooking these two Xenoblade videos, right? Then Nintendo Direct comes out, and what's the last game featured? Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm psychic. At this point, I might as well just talk about Xenoblade all the time, because then we're just gonna get 4, 5, 6, 7. But anyway, yeah, let's move on to the actual topic of the video. Tora. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has a utterly fantastic cast of characters. Both the main villains and main protagonists are all, like, amazing characters, if you ask me. However, Tora, of all the characters, is, like, the most divisive. For the fanbase, I've seen a lot of people say, yeah, he's great. You know, the people are correct. Me. Then there are some people who just don't like him. They find him annoying. They go, oh, insert thing here. We'll get into that when we actually get into the video. And I don't get the hate. People also say his voice is grating. No, that's just wrong at that point. That's not even an opinion. That's just an incorrect statement at that point. But anyway, that's why I sort of wanted to make this video. I wanted to, well, not exactly prove people right about Tora. It's not like that, of course, opinions and all that. People don't like him, aren't just gonna magically have him be the number one character after this video. Hell, even the only main, like, group member I genuinely dislike, and I say dislike not in the fact that I don't like them, I'm using dislike as a term where I don't like them as much, is if we're counting the Blades, Dromark. Out of the drivers, character-wise, I think he's easily the weakest. Still good. But anyway, let's hop into Tora, the best and worst driver. Now, many of the people who dislike Tora from a character perspective will also objectively better than him is like Rex, because the thing with Rex is, and even that's debatable, because Rex can have every blade except Poppy's forms. Also, yeah, before we get into this much further, there will be spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so not finish the game, or if you don't have the money, don't have like Steam Deck or just the PC for Yuzu. If you want to, I don't even recommend it. Not just because you're not supporting the Xenoblade games run horribly on Yuzu. I'm being real. That's the reason. But anyway, just watch the YouTube Let's Play or something if you can't get the game. But anyway, on that, Tora is like, objectively the best driver in terms of gameplay. Because with Rex, it's debatable because he can have every blade. However, with Tora, all three what was I trying to say? Poppy. All three forms of Poppy have all of the elements of the driver combo. Alpha has Topple. Cutie has Smash. And Cutie Pie has both Break and Launch. Objectively, there's like, the only reason you wouldn't want to have Tora in your party at all times in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is if you're trying to spice things up for some reason. Well, I say some reason, but I spice up my party all the time. I use objectively bad characters. I'm the type of person who sometimes plays as Charla in the original Xenoblade. Yeah, I'm that kind of person when it comes to RPGs. Anyway, it's time we get to the actual character analysis of this portion of this character analysis video, starting with Tora's backstory. Now, obviously, Tora is a Napon. He, his Dadapon, and Grandpapon all aspired to be drivers, but they couldn't resonate with the core crystals and had serious nosebleeds as the downsides. However, they're all kind of geniuses, so they decided if they couldn't become drivers, they were just going to make an artificial blade and be artificial drivers. And that's what they set out to do. Until one day, the lab was attacked by totally not obvious Mr. Scooby-Doo villain man. And while Grandpapon was pretty much almost killed, I mean, we don't know until the DLC came out, and now he's a cyborg. Very super Frankie of you, Grandpapon. And Dadapon Tataso gave Tora the Ether first, and then Mr. Totally Not Obvious Scooby-Doo Villain Man pretty much made him working so that he could make... Oh god, I accidentally put it in the phone. So he could have Dadapon keep working on almost an infinite amount of artificial blades that Vanna, the chairman of Argentum Trade Guild, could sell so he could become rich. While Tora escaped with an ether furnace and follows the design, all he needs are a few more parts by the time we meet him to make his own artificial blade, Poppy. And here's the point where we meet Tora, where he saves Rex and Pyra. Then he goes over all this, but not exactly. It's well, at that time it becomes more relevant later. It's like anime. It's like if in One Piece, and the second Frankie started fighting Luffy, we then got introduced to his backstory. Just one of hit, but One Piece comparisons aside, I think it's about time we get onto the actual personality bit of this video, because that's what's important here. It's a large part of the reason why people don't like Tora. Now, Tora, he's kind of just an energetic little fella. While we don't have an official age on most of the Xenoblade 2 characters, and someone who just likes knowing everything he can about his favorite characters, it really hurts that I only really know how old Rex and Zeke are, but I think it's fair to say that he's around 12 or maybe 13. I don't know about how big Napon are, but the reason I give him this, pre-teen to early teen age is because when we meet Uncle Uman at the end of the Toragoth arc, he makes a comment about Tora not being such a little pawn anymore, so to assume that Tora was pretty young up to that point. Alright, I had to go away for a second, but like most Napon, Tora is a bit of a friendly yet gluttonous little fellow. We can see the friendly side from the first interaction the Rex ever has with Tora. He already has such an admiration for him alone for being a driver that in the English version he calls him Rex, which is fun, but feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but in the Japanese version, he calls Rex Aniki, at least I assume that is how it's pronounced, which means big brother. So that's already friendly and building a bond between those two. So yeah, that's and the gluttonous part is Tora throughout many stages of the story in little downtime are just as jokes and scenes as for tasty sausages. It is still sending me almost 5 years later that in this world there's a food that literally has tasty in the name. Now I make a joke now, but I just remembered. Tasty cakes aren't just called cakes, they're called tasty cakes. So tasty sausages and tasty cakes marketing giants, step aside. Google, Amazon, other big businesses. These are the kings. And obviously, as shown by the fact that he can build things. Well, that was the greatest way to put it. That he's been working on this artificial blade for years. Tora is a genius mechanic. He built his own weapons from scratch. This isn't like other blades where they they have the weapons. Tora built all these himself for the various chips. It's safe to assume that he designed those. Now, once again, Tora, genius. Love my boy Genius. He's very huggable. However, we get now to the part of Tora's personality that isn't. Well, I wouldn't say isn't so great. I'm perfectly fine with it, but it's the one part of him that people take the most issue with. Tora is a perverted character at points when it comes to heart to hearts, or even just in the story. He has made outfits just lying around his house despite the fact that he lives alone. It's safe to assume that at the original plan before meeting Rex was to some stage the mom pop being I completely understand people not liking pervert characters, and I actually have an argument for why I like these types of characters. But I'd like to start the argument with I am justifying them in a writing sense. I'm not trying to make people like stereotypes and tropes that they just already said they don't like. I make jokes on Twitter and stuff about, oh, you have an incorrect opinion with friends, but okay. But at the end of the day, have your own opinion. Nothing's ever going to change that unless you actively just view the information differently. And I know with how some people in the internet talk, it seems like they talk their arguments up so big it almost feels like they're trying to convert you in their way of thinking. But I really just want to give you my perspective and why I don't feel it's a big deal. If you already decide yourself on Tora and other characters like that, perfectly okay. Anyway, why I don't think it's a character. Well, it's a flaw in the objective sense, but why I don't think it's that big of a deal and doesn't. This isn't the reason I dislike Tora that much. I just find everyone else considerably more interesting. And that his whole development applies basically finished before we're even halfway through the story. Those are the main reasons why Tora is my least favorite out of the driver characters. Not because of this. And at first, I was kind of that type of person who didn't like all those preferred characters much. When I first watched MHA, I I just didn't like Mineta at all. Looking back on it, I still think he's annoying, but he's definitely not my least favorite. Definitely now it goes more towards Sakakure because, like, I'm just using her as an example because, like, I just. It's just that for some reason, Horikoshi just went, yeah, for my class, let me put in 20 characters. Like, give 6 or 7 of them at most development and attention. Great plan. Great plan. Then I got more into JoJo, met Polnareff, and at and eventually started One Piece, met Sanji, and now and Black Clover as well, Finral, Roller Case. So yeah, these are characters that I really like despite these tendencies. So I eventually came to the conclusion that it wasn't just me looking past the trope to see the well writing. I think I just generally stopped minding the trope as a whole. And genuinely now think it's a good trope now that I've came to this realization. My reason for this is humans, almost all of us, have a sex drive at some point. And I don't mean super crazy, like, oh, we must. It's just general want, is what I mean by sex drive. Not like, ooga booga, me must reproduce. So having characters in your story that actively pursue, not even just one, it could flip on its head and have someone, a female character, chase men, or vice versa if they swing the other way, of course. And that's different, but it still gets the same trope across. And it's a humanizing trait. It's not. I wouldn't. Once again, I can completely understand someone just thinking, well, it's annoying, don't use it. However, I think in a weird way, it's one of the most humanizing tropes I think you can give a character. Because, once again, I think, like, I'm gonna bet, like, at least 85% of people on average, because, like, I'm not gonna go into it much, but I think that's a good average. Other people have a genuine, like, drive to get to know someone, and then down to business with them. Now I'm gonna say that. I know I already mentioned the word, but still. And that's why I don't mind the trope on characters like Tora and the various examples that I mentioned. Once again, I can completely see why someone would get annoyed by this. And I'm not trying to justify it if you find it annoying, just trying to give my own perspective on the trope. And that's... Now let's get on to the relationships Tora has with the other main characters. Starting off with the main character himself, Rex. Now, as stated before, Rex, Tora views him not just a role model, but as explicitly stated in the Japanese version, almost a big brother sort of figure. And around, I think it's the end of chapter 7, or yeah, end of chapter 7, start chapter 8. There's a scene after Rex loses Hithra. He's ready to give up. And a lot of the people in his life, and I say people in his life, but the crew, they are upset about this. They're like, come on, dude, you can't just give up. But then, even though Poppy does the speaking, Tora does completely echo this mentality, and it's what he thinks. Rex was the whole reason that they started going on the adventure. To Tora, we've already stated that they have the whole big brother, and even if Rex doesn't think of Tora as a little brother, I feel like by the end they definitely have that relationship. And if Rex gives up, what are Tora and Poppy gonna do? It's a really powerful scene watching it play out. And it's another reason why I really love this game. It's so good, but really powerful scene, and it's really gives Rex the motivation that despite everything that's going on, he has to press forward. He didn't stop when his father figure in Van Damme just died. And Pithra is not dead right now. So he just has to press on. So, once again, really powerful scene. Onto his interactions with Nia. Honestly, there isn't too much. They don't get to interact all that much. But you can get a little bit of... They bicker, they're just fun, they're friends, but they aren't particularly close. And now, let's talk about Tora's relationship with Poppy, his blade. Tora, well, he doesn't act like it all the time. He is, for all intents and purposes, Poppy's father figure. He is ultimately responsible for her creation, the reason she's in this world, and he even bases her growth based off the 3 main stages of life. Poppy Alpha is obviously a child. That is general consensus. Then Poppy Cutie is more of a teen, and Cutie Pie is a full-on adult. And when making Cutie Pie, Tora explicitly states that he thinks that Poppy's had enough experience. It's time for her to properly grow up. And they do have a relationship where Eventually, when Poppy starts becoming more of a human character, talking more fluently, acting more like a human than a robot, even if she still has the not pawn mannerisms with her speech, she still acts more human. That's when they develop more of a relationship than just father and daughter, even if it's not in the actual sense. Where Poppy gets a lot more sassy, and this especially continues out with into her further forms to point where when Cutie Pie is first finished, the first thing she does is carry Tora around, despite his explicit asking to put him down and that he has his own 2 feet. Onto Morag, once again, they don't interact all that much. Her and Bridget do have some of my favorite heart-to-heart interactions with Tora, though, so even if they don't have much to completely go on a segment about, I do want to talk about it. So, the one for Morag is at the hotel in, I can't remember the name of it, but in Morardane, Tora is just like, let us all go on this back together. And then Morag is just like, no, Tora, I'm fine. Or, yeah, so I'll do it when I keep my clothes on. And while some people could say, he's being sly, given his naivety, I genuinely just think that the whole time, he thought Morag was a woman. I mean, a man. Now, you could say there's technical evidence probably somewhere that I'm overlooking, but once again, this is a comedy scene. It's not like a super serious story scene. So it's not like, well, actually, it's just a funny scene that I wanted to mention. And for Bridget, once Morag is in the party, and Bridget, by extent, because, you know, Bridget is Morag's Storyblade, so that it's kind of hard to have one without the other. In fact, I'd say it's impossible, unless you are literally playing the DLC. So, yeah. Anyway. Interaction basically goes, no, Bridget discovers all the maid dresses that Tor has in his house. It's funny, she's just like, the best part about it is the line, I guess I have to say the line, I'm very interested in Tora's views on women. That's still one of the greatest lines of all time, not even just Xenoblade. But anyway, on to the Tora's interactions with the greatest character, Zeke von Genbu. Once again, they don't have much, but Zeke's cool with everyone, so I assume that he and Tora just generally some nice people on planet. So they just chilling as friends. Though I do have one line I also want to mention that is extremely funny that they have. So, or potential option of dialogue after battle. If you have Tora and Zeke in the same party, Zeke can go, "Oh, Tora, the way you Napon talk is so funny. Tora, do this. Tora, do that." And then Tora replies with, "Tora is actually great poet in Napon language. Not Tora's fault. Zeke not understand it." It's a beautiful interaction, and once again, even if I don't really have enough to go on for a whole segment, it's still great. But anyway, here's some trivia. It doesn't really have anything to do with Tora's character as a whole, but, if I have some trivia, I'm going to tell it. Tora's name in Japanese means tiger. As you can tell from his coat, it's even echoed even further when the name of the minigame to get Poppy's parts is Tiger Tiger. pretty obvious, but it's just some fun trivia, so felt like sharing it. Anyway, that's gonna be all for this video. Hopefully, I got it across. Even if I can't convince you why I think Tora is a good character, and if you still don't like him, that is fine. Once again, advocate for having opinions and being able to voice them. That is me. I do the thing. But I hope that I can at brighten... Oh, well, why did I say brighten? At least share my perspective on why I really like Tora. That's going to be it all for this video. It's been Shadow Joker. Take care. Until next time. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.